So hey there, and welcome back to Sonic Safari, a channel featuring tales of record collecting. I am your host, Marcus, a Swedish hipster lost in the fog in San Francisco. So that vinyl sales are exploding right now isn't news to anyone, but there are other formats doing really well as well, including streaming and CDs. So today I wanted to talk a bit about the anatomy of the recorded music business within context, and also my own personal journey with each format. But before that, I am running a giveaway right now until April 1st. So if you haven't already, please put your name in the hat to win one of 3 gift cards I'm giving away for one record in a silly little game that we called Record Collecting Speed Dating. So I am a kid of the late 70s, let's say, and started buying music really in the mid 90s, which for me meant CDs. I then experienced the explosion of digital, starting with the illegal downloading via the introduction of the iPod until now, where streaming is dominated by companies like YouTube, Amazon, and Apple Music. And then seemingly out of nowhere, vinyl has done this incredible comeback. So let's just jump into the details a bit to see what really happens in the recorded music business, shall we? Okay, so before we continue our journey through time and formats, please remember to like and subscribe. It really helps me more than you think. So according to an article in Variety, the US recorded music industry posted a near record $15 billion in revenue in 2021, with increases across both streaming, vinyl, and CD. The 15 billion is near record. However, if you adjust for inflation, music sales is nearly 40% lower than the previous record that was set in 1999. So I think this is really interesting because it's clear that recorded music is doing well. Streaming, vinyl, and CD are all up, but we also might forget that this was a business that was having a really hard time a couple of years ago. So even though the numbers are doing so much better, revenue is only about half what it used to be, which is something to keep in mind. And also, if we look at the vinyl explosion specifically, this did not happen overnight. Vinyl revenue has grown for 15 years straight, hitting $1 billion in 2021. Last time this happened was in 1986. It is quite the coincidence because in 1986, I was 8 years old and I received a gift card for my birthday to buy a record. So I went downtown and there were at the time 7 record stores in a city of 100,000 people. There's only one left, and I picked up this record, Michael Jackson's Off the Wall. This is a 1986 Swedish pressing, and it has this amazing fold out. And it was also kind of interesting that my dad was the one that suggested that I get it, a man that only listens to sports radio. And it's also the only vinyl record I bought for nearly 20 years because CDs were right around the corner. And when I started buying more music, that's what I started picking up. Okay, so back to 2021. So for the first time since 1996, in 2021, both vinyl and CDs has increased in sale, which is really interesting because we tend to focus on the explosion in vinyl, or at least I do, because I guess I care more, but CD is doing really well as well. And I guess it could be a result of the focus on vinyl, which also means that the prices have increases quite a lot, and that makes CD very attractive, at least from a price point of view. So just as an example, the most sold vinyl of 2021 was ABBA's Voyage, and you have to pay almost double to get the vinyl versus buying the CD, so price is really an important consideration. So when it comes to my own CD collection, I sold most of it about 10 years ago, and the reason is because of my wedding anniversary. My wife decided to buy me a turntable and 2 vinyl records. She got this Bob Dylan, Bringing It All Back Home, which is a 2001 repress, and this Miles Davis, Cookin with the Miles Davis Quintet. It's an OJC from 1984, and that was a great gift. And my plan initially was to buy CDs for new music and then vinyl for older 70s or jazz, but I just completely fell in love with vinyl and decided to get rid of my CD collection, which was about 500. And what is left is in this box, which are mainly records that I cannot find on vinyl. So let's take a look what I have. Yeah, so here it is. It's funny because I haven't looked in this in a very long time. So let's see what we find, shall we? And yeah, this is a great start. to Elliot from Portland. This is a comp that came out after Elliot passed away, and it has some really great songs on it. Decemberist makes a version of Clementine on it, and also DeLorean makes a version of The Biggest Lie. Amazing, would love this on vinyl. Oh yeah, this one is a great one. One of my favorite bands, the soundtrack of our lives, psychedelic rock. This is an EP called Give Me Five, and has an amazing song called Down Jones Syndrome, so check that one out. Yeah, this is rock festival in Sweden, Husved, the biggest one. I went a couple of years and decided to buy this to support the team that organized it. Unfortunately, it's no longer around. Yeah, I've talked about this one a couple of times. This is one of my holy grails that I would love to find and need to find on vinyl. Shout Out Loud's debut, Howl Howl Gaff Gaff. It's a perfect album in my point of view. Yeah, this one is a good one. From my hometown, The Facer. This is an amazing record. Final Exit is about a half-hour long record. Think garage rock, think very quick White Stripes. An amazing record. And then, yeah, let's take this one, the last but not least, Grand Tone Music. Saw them at a festival in my hometown. Sounded amazing, kind of an alt rock, very slow organ, guitar, and drums. Fantastic album. This would also be a great album to get on vinyl, but I can't. So yeah, that is some of the CDs that I still have in my collection. All right, so after CDs, let's talk a bit about digital downloading. And it's interesting because in 2021, this is the only format that is actually on decline, but to me, it makes perfect sense, even if it was the format that really kickstarted the digital revolution using illegal download sites. Right now, it doesn't really make that much sense to own the file per se, and instead have a subscription to a complete library via a site like Spotify, Apple Music, or YouTube Music. But it does bring back memories, doesn't it? Who doesn't remember this amazing ad for the iPod? 1,000 songs in your pocket. Could you imagine that? 1,000 songs. Personally, I never really got into downloading of music. I dabbled using Kasa.com, which was created by some Estonian programmer and was later sold to some entrepreneurs that ended up creating Skype. The time to download was too long and the quality was terrible at the time, so I never really got serious about it. I never used Napster, for example, and even though I really wanted one, never had an iPod, so the digital download was really never for me. So let's talk about streaming, and streaming is by far what drives the most revenue. Actually, 83% of all revenue comes from streaming, which makes perfect sense. But I think it's also important to keep in mind that when we talk about vinyl exploding, we're really talking about physical albums. So vinyl drives about 63% of all physical formats, but if you look at the total, it's only 7%. So vinyl is still a very, very small niche within recorded music. So subscription to services like YouTube Music, Amazon Music, and Apple Music is the #1 growth driver for streaming. However, I did not know that the term is so much broader. Streaming also includes digital radio, which I guess makes sense, but also licenses for music on social media apps and fitness apps such as TikTok or Peloton, which of course have been exploding now in COVID time. So actually for the first time, TikTok music revenue is now included in the number for streaming, helping to drive the numbers up considering how vital music is within the TikTok world, or at least that's what I'm being told. So personally, I signed up for Spotify in the early 2000s and used it mainly while I was studying and later while I was working. I never really stream music while I'm at home. It tends to be either when I'm working out or in the car, and I've been sticking to Spotify ever since, maybe just because I'm lazy to check out anything else. So as a lover of music, I just think in the end, it's amazing to see that the market is growing, because there was a moment where the music industry was quote unquote dying. So be that streaming CDs or vinyl, I think it's a great sign that the numbers are ticking upwards, because in the end, more attention means more sales, and in the end means that more great music is going to be issued. And that is what really matters. When it comes to me personally, I listen to vinyl. And I also use streaming services when I'm working out or where I'm in the car, but I would love to hear from you. What formats do you use and when do you use them? All right, so that's it for today's episode. Please like, subscribe, and all of that good stuff. On the next episode, we're going to talk about the role MTV had in creating my vinyl collection. Until then, tack och adjö.